Hey guys, I am Big and Scary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in the top right corner FxSquale. He is our red Zerg, Squale. It is a French term for shark, just so you guys know. I learned that today, and you're welcome. So, apologies for butchering that. I don't have the French accent. I have absolutely no idea how I'm actually supposed to pronounce it, so I just took a stab at it. But he'll be going by FX for the duration of the cast. Team EchO.Squid is in the bottom left corner. He is our blue Protoss, and it looks like just by the probe leaving the base at such another moment, he's going to be throwing down that first pylon for the Forge Fast Expand, which is relatively well known. Squid is in low masters. It's FX. FX is going to be in high diamond, very high diamond, like 10 or 15 place diamond, so he's getting ready to move up into masters, and Squid's probably relatively new there, or maybe he's been there for forever, because in all honesty it's pretty hard to stay in masters as it is. Just the competition is pretty fierce, and in order to do it, you've got to be pretty good, and we're going to see a fine example of that today, I am sure. No sort of shenanigans going on from either player. We're well past the 10 pool, 6 pool mark for FX, so no sort of early pool rush, and that's exactly what Squid's noticing by poking in early with that probe. He send out that early scouting probe, because that Forge Fast Expand is kind of delicate whenever it comes to the super early rush, but the payoff, the dividends that you reap by taking that sort of risk is huge, absolutely huge. And poking in once again with that probe, it's more likely that he's just trying to keep the probe alive, not trying to take any damage, so that he can scout when FX decides to go for an early expansion. It does look like he is, because there's no gas timing to speak of. He's banking up a little bit of money, well past the 200 mineral mark, so pulling a second drone, he's definitely going to be throwing it down, and the probe's going to be noticing it, and Squid's going to be feeling very comfortable with that. At the same time, he's felt comfortable enough with the spawning pool timing, as well as the 2 drones being pulled, to throw down a Nexus before the Forge, which, it's daybreak, it's a pretty big map, and the rush distance for the Zerglings is going to be pretty small, and so that the aggression, if there's going to be aggression coming out of FX, is going to be delayed to the point where you can get away with cutting corners like this. It's risky, and you've got to know the timing for your build very, very, very closely. It's very tight timing that you have to stick to, but it's definitely possible, and again, it's one of those things that it's a you're cutting corners, and you're going to get 1 or 2 probes extra, and that's going to directly translate to 1 or 2 Colossus later on down the game in about 10 minutes. Provided that the game lasts that long. We can see that the first round of Zerglings is coming out on the field. This is just going to be a little bit of opening pressure from FX, but he's not backing it up with a huge swell of Zerglings. In fact, he's transitioning all of his larvae into drones, still hasn't grabbed any gas, isn't working on lair or anything like that, so there's not even speed on the way. FX is more than content to sit back, allow Squid to grab that first expansion, and as long as he can keep him on 2 bases, maybe we'll see a third coming out of Squid or FX in relatively short order. And wow, Squid is aware of that. He knows that the proper response to this sort of build from Squid by FX is to get an expansion of himself, and that's exactly what he tried to stop by throwing up that pylon, delaying that expansion. We saw the drone was there. The money has built up well past 300 minerals, and actually I think he canceled something in order to get back the 300 minerals just so he could throw it down. On the other side of things, Squid's wall-off is well complete. He's got that Cybernetics core finishing up, and the Forge is already down. And you could see that the second the Nexus finished at the Expo, 2 gas was grabbed immediately. That gas is already beginning to accumulate. It's going to be interesting to see if it's just going to go into straight-on money for the upgrades from the Forge that's already there, if there's going to be some sort of follow-up play to this. And that's kind of exciting, because with PVZ, the first 4 minutes or so for Protoss is you know exactly what to expect. It's going to be a Forge Fast Expand. They're going to get up that Expo. They might try some sort of block for the third. They might try some sort of proxy gate if they're absolutely crazy. But the real build becomes evident at about the 5-minute mark. And okay, it's the 6-minute mark, so Stargate goes down. Fantastic. And this is really neat, because usually with a Stargate you'd expect to see a far earlier gas timing, and this is again Squid being aware that he's versing a Zerg opponent, and that Zerg opponent's going to have an Overlord positioned here at this place in the map, or maybe even over here, just to scout that gas timing. And this is not a super early gas timing that would usually key you into some sort of high-tech build. So I believe that this is going to be very effective, especially because of the positioning of that Stargate. It's just out of range of the Overlord. He's not going to scout it unless he suicides it in, and there's no reason to suicide him in. This guy is the one who's going to get suicided in. He's going to see a completely empty base, and that's really good unit structure positioning, and it's also really nice control by getting the gas a little bit delayed. Most people would be tempted to get the gas up early, but by going to Phoenixes, they only cost 100 gas, and you can use that extra minerals just for a little bit of added defense. So this will catch FxSquale FX by surprise, hopefully like a ton of bricks, and definitely this third is going to be in for a heap of trouble. If it's just Phoenixes coming out, we can see these drones get absolutely decimated. If it can be followed up by some Void Rays, maybe even the hatchery goes down. I don't know. Keep an eye out for that. Is there an Evo chamber out on the field yet? There is one going down, and this is not because FX is aware of the build. This is just FX having a nice build himself. He's a competent player. I mean, he's getting ready to move up into Masters. This is something that people work into their build just naturally to throw down the Evo chamber. It could be that he wants upgrades. Lord knows he's got the gas for it. But more likely, this is just so that he can throw down some reactionary spore crawlers, and that will help him in dealing with this coming aggression. But 3 Phoenixes already out, a 4th on the way, and it's being chrono boosted. So these are going to have absolutely no problem making their presence known on the map, picking off all these drones. Remember, there's absolutely no spore crawler here to defend them, not even a queen, even though it is in production, and it looks like they're preparing to move out. No, they're just repositioning. No, they are moving out. Fantastic. And this is a tense moment because you really don't want to expose them to overlords until they actually get there, but it looks like they're going to flying right by one. One does take a shot, and that does indeed show that, wow, look at those reactions from FX. Second he seizes those Phoenixes, he throws down 1 spore crawler, 2 spore crawler, probably 1 at the main. None at the main just yet, but there's already queens there, so ultimately those Phoenixes are going to be limited in the amount of damage they can do just because they're going to be taking damage from these queens. 2 of them bundling up, and this is also something key to note. Squid, instead of committing to the aggression down at the 3rd because that queen popped out and the spore was being built, he retreated, and he tried to pick off one of the queens, and those queens are a really high priority target because they're worth far more than just a single drone, and the time that he had at that 3rd to wreak havoc was pretty limited. And by taking out the queen, that's 100% less creep, it's 100% less larva. It's just a nice little aside that you can do whenever you have a limited time frame to deal damage at that 3rd. And I think with only 4 Phoenixes out, he couldn't really decimate that whole probe line. So and it also, check this out, he's not building anything else. This Stargate has stopped building stuff once that first Void Ray got out. I think it might be due to the fact that he arrived and he saw that the static defenses were immediately being thrown down. The Evo chamber had been built, so once those spore crawlers get started building, there's going to be static defenses up to protect all the probe lines. And indeed, we've got 2 here at the main, you've got 1 down at the natural, but 3 queens sitting close by, and then 2 down at the 3rd with another 2 queens. This place is going to be like Fort Knox to the air, and the only thing the air can do right now is hunt down these overlords. So instead of committing to the sort of tech path that's going to have a very hard time proving to be cost effective, Squid's changed it up. He's getting a robotics facility and a robotics bay, and he's working on those Colossus. He's gotten 3, 4 warp, 5, 6 gateways. So he'll be able to, do quite a lot of damage later on by changing up this this build order. And he's also using his Phoenixes for harassment, actually sniping out 2 of those queens with only the loss of 1 of his Phoenixes. Is that Void Ray still out on the field? It is. Where exactly is it? Down here at the 4th. And he's just wrecking havoc with those roaches. FX would absolutely love to have some sort of map control at the moment. He wants to move out, do some damage with these roaches, because that's an intimidating force compared to what Squid actually has on the ground. 5 zealots, 7 stalkers. They're going to have a hard time with so many roaches. However, with the Phoenixes and the Void Rays doing quite a lot of damage, I don't foresee Squid having a hard time actually defending this engagement. This is going to be the kicker for FX. He needs to get out some infestors. He needs to get a couple of chain fungals down on those Phoenixes and cut them out, and then take control again. Take back the map control that he needs. And looks like he's going to be spinning his gas in all sorts of different areas, because he's also grabbing a spire probably back at the main. Yeah, so Spire, another place to dump the gas. The upgrades that he's getting right now are for melee, even though he has two tier 2 units that could use that range attack. It's interesting for him to commit to that whenever when you already see some air attack, but ultimately it's going to be helpful for him because he's going to have to deal with this army, which is becoming increasingly more intimidating. I mean, you got 2 Colossus out right now, 3rd on the way, and again, nothing coming out of that Stargate. It's basically he's using the Phoenixes that he has right now to the fullest of their potential, even though they're sitting here absolutely doing nothing right now. But he's working on the upgrades. He's changing it up into this death ball, and FX was probably expecting there to be some sort of further aggression. I mean, how many queens does he have out right now? 5 queens, and he's lost 2, 3, 4 to the aggression, I think. So ultimately, he's made almost 10 queens, which is quite an investment in money to deal with this harassment, which really, there was no follow-up to the harassment. It was just a transition into this death ball. It bought Squid enough time to get his 3rd out, and now he's getting his own 4th. So he is in an absolutely fantastic position. However, Squid, if he's given enough time, it looks like the harassment from no. However, FX, if he's given enough time, can transition into a force that can deal with Squid's force. Squid's not attacking right now with the units he has out on the field. He's only got 3 Phoenixes left. I guess the loss of that 1 Phoenix has caused him to focus down on his macro. He does have that Warp Prism coming out, which will be another form of harassment, but honestly, he's got this intimidating force. If he pokes in here now and deals with this 4th that FX has out, I mean, even though they're both pretty much max, those infestors, the number of infestors out on the field right now is not enough to deal with this, and this is an absolutely perfect concave for Squid, with the force fields coming down, cutting those roaches in half. The fungals from the infestors, they really can't get in there and use the energy that they have. There goes a nice fungal on those sentries, but they've already expended the majority of their energy, and with the loss of all that energy goes the loss of all of those roaches. Right now we only have Zerglings and infestors left, and those are going to be out. Fantastic blink right down on top of those infestors. This is textbook sweep. I don't even think he lost a single Colossus. Poor FX. I don't feel like he butchered the defense of the air at all. It was very fast reactions to get out the Spore Crawler. This was fantastic placement of the Stargate, and because of that, he got kind of caught by surprise by some air, but he reacted very well to it. He tried to keep his queens alive. He did manage to lose 2 up here, and then a 3rd somewhere around here during that initial aggression. However, the presence of the air was so much that he kind of held back on his own aggression. He should have come in and kind of pushed at this 3rd. I don't think Squid had a ground force that was impressive enough to deal with the roaches and Zerglings that FX had out on the field at that time. If he had pushed in, maybe he could have taken out that 3rd. Maybe he could have stunted the economy. Maybe he would only have been dealing with 2 Colossus and half the number of Stalkers for this push from Squid, or he could have just bought himself more time. That Greater Spire had just finished, more Corruptors to take out the Colossus. We could have been dealing with a Brood War Infestor army rather than Roach Infestor, and this could have looked incredibly different. Ultimately, Squid put him on the back foot with that air pressure, and then took advantage of it by switching immediately into a more traditional Colossus play, and I like it. I like it a lot. I like you guys. If you have a replay you want me to cast, you could PM me on YouTube or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary.